Hello, hello.
I'm not judging.
Well, thank you so much for waiting. I'm glad I'm able to finally actually get to doing reviews again. So this
Or
is a
villain,
review
I'm
of
not
a
judging.
Silver Invisible Woman main. Let's see, Dusty Albatross. All right. Thank you so much for being patient. I know this took a while to get to. I'm glad I'm able to finally do it. And I should be able to take a look at the gameplay of the cloak as well, since I know you
30
wanted me to look at
seconds
that too.
before you attack. Get ready.
I'll probably do that in a separate video though. I'm gonna do this video first of just reviewing the gameplay, and I'll do Cloak in a different one. That is the wrong. There we go. All right, back to.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2. All you
It
need to
looks
do
like
is
you are
capture the
playing on
mission area.
PC.
Got it?
Cool. Not that it's greatly important, but you can always change your crosshair. Then as the default one. Invisible movement doesn't really matter.
There, ahead. I found it. Needed that. Thanks.
If you do end up playing someone like Luna Snow, maybe look at getting a dot or something as a crosshair.
Needed that. Thanks.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now. I got you covered. Clear the way. Feeling capture the mission area.
Weird first fight. Usually I don't see people go down that side. I mean, if you're for silver, this is actually not that terrible position. The thing I'll say is, especially as Invisible Woman, good if you can like play more here so that you can line up with both enemies and allies, so you're healing everyone. Because if you're here, then you know you're only healing Moon Knight.
I got you covered. Clear
Nice.
the way. Feeling capture the mission area. Anyone willing to help? Anyone willing to help? Anyone willing to help?
So whenever you have an ally that is critically low, as Invisible Woman, if you have your shield off cooldown, just put a shield on them, like instantly. Because it, a lot of the time, will save them and make a difference. Like, you see here. See, she barely actually dodges that while you're healing them with a fade. Um, you just want to be spamming the shield button on them just to get it off. And then you can take the shield away as well. If you press F, it pulls the shield away. So if your shield is off cooldown, there is really no disadvantage of putting it down on someone who needs the healing, other than the fact that it will be damaged, right? But logically, if it's being damaged, that means it's doing its job. It used it to block the damage from them being killed, right? Slightly different than just putting it down in general, because if you put it in the front on your tank or something and instantly gets broken, yeah, okay, it's kind of a waste, right? Because that damage blocked didn't do anything. But any situation where you have a critically low person, any damage you're blocking you're doing there is typically going to be critical. So it's well worth it to drop the shield on them. Also, not to mention, you can't miss the shield, right? And you see when you are trying to heal them, you're actually whiffing a lot of shots,
That's much
and
better.
your shield doesn't care if you aim well or not, right? So you just put the shield down because it's a guaranteed heal. It's the same reason is why it's good when you're healing flying people. You can use the shield to heal them very easily because it's harder to hit people flying in the air, and also your primary fire is good for lining up with people. And if you're shooting people in the air, then you're not going to get any additional value. So that's another reason, putting the shield on a flyer can be good. But any critically low health ally is a very, very, very important target to shield as Invisible Woman when it is off cooldown.
Tandy needs help.
So like for example, you'd also shield on, let's see, so you're here, I would put my shield on the cloak right here. And then you can also, I mean, if you're shielding them at this point, like right here, you see how things run away now? Like, you can just drop the shield and then look back at your team and be healing them. Because if Cloak's low as well, they can stand with your shield and get healed by it, and they can also just walk up to you and start like hitting you in the back, because the Cloak's AoE will heal them too. So, since you guys are both, kind of occupied here, it means that your front line is at risk of dying without being healed. So you kind of want to turn back to them as soon as possible. So dropping your shield here and turning because Thing has left would be a good idea. Now, then you'd see him come back, right? And at that point, it'd be like, okay, make sure Cloak's okay. But like, you saw him walk away for a second. And, like, you're chilling with Thing too, because like, you're not really worried about you dying here because you can just jump away whenever you need to. He's already used his little slam move here, so he can't stop you from jumping.
Tandy needs help.
As I'm seeing that even in the corner of my eye right here. I'm seeing this critically low thing. This is like a red flag to me. And I mean, with Dagger's dome here, like there's no way she dies. A dagger inside her dome, um, is not going to die to a Thing like ever unless Thing has ulti. Um, so they're good for a second, right? You can sit in the dome, be pocketed by Dagger, and heal your team here, and have zero risk of them dying too.
Tandy needs help.
Yeah. I was gonna say, just focus on healing your team. It doesn't really matter because I mean, there's no one else in the point, doesn't. But prioritize healing your team over damaging the Thing. Yeah, good jump. You can jump high ground there, by the way. Like up onto this ramp. Yeah, I think maybe you meant to do it, I'm not sure, but you can jump here, and it makes it a safer spot. This is good ability usage. Like this is what I do too. Just drop the shift right in the clump of people. We're good. Yeah. Okay, one thing I will say, you notice that you're against a Black Panther now. He is very important for you guys to be aware of. You're actually not at that much risk against Black Panther unless he catches you when you don't have your jump ready. But you have a lot of ways of dealing with him. Like if he jumps, you could push him away. You can shield an ally and stand in the shield. Um, you're kind of chilling, like, and you can just jump away. But Cloak is a bit more vulnerable to Panther. Reason being is that good Panthers will silently jump and go spear dash, and Cloak won't have time to fade away from Panther doing that. They can throw Dome on themselves and try to pocket them through it, but it's more scary doing that because it's going to be there's going to be a lot of damage being dealt, and any outside source of damage in combination with Panther's combo can very quickly get them killed. And it means Cloak has to, so what you can be doing that's very good here is be aware of where Panther is and be very good about shielding your Cloak when they have Panther go on them. And if Panther goes on you, you just jump away. So be aware of him so that you can try to save your jump for him, or at least position where he can't quickly get on top of you, and be ready to save your Cloak, because I will tell you that Cloak and Daggers against good Panthers are very susceptible to just getting deleted. I have had it happen to me too. It's very frustrating as Cloak if you neglect to pay attention to Panther, because you just get deleted out of nowhere and there's no time to switch to Cloak form. So pull the shield whenever you're not in a fight like this. The second that you're not in a fight, the second the shield isn't doing anything, right? Like I see the shield right now, just pull it. Because it also, I'm sure you probably already know this, but the shield, its cooldown when you pull it depends on how much health it has left. So if you pull it when it's like half HP, it's gonna go on a cooldown for like 3 seconds, because I think the max is like 6 seconds. So if you pull it now, you'll get it back very quickly, and I don't see any way that you would be needing your shield in the next 3 seconds. I mean, you could drop it on dagger here, but I mean they're inside the building
Clearly,
and things dying. So like
needed some help.
now you pull the shield for sure. He's dead. You pull the shield,
Thanks.
and that's the F key, by the way.
Fast! Grace us with victory!
You see it's still 130. Oh my goodness, we need to pull our shield.
Their team's got
Oh, you see now is at 20. Now we're not gonna have our shield. I wasn't really thinking about ultis. I was so focused on your shield. Let's see. Very critical in ulting. Oh, the map's changing. Ooh. Oh, that's funny. It actually makes your ult kind of worse because it moves it. What the heck? Oh, I see. That's there.
their team's capture progress is past the halfway point. Psionic surge.
I mean, the ult isn't terrible. They are making a push out towards you. What I will say, I mean, the main thing that I'll be thinking that is kind of making you think this is the squirrels. I guess yes aren't here, so I guess that's why we can't really easily deal with these squirrels. But just as a rule of thumb, usually squirrels we can kill quite easily. You can ask your team to shoot these. Um, if you are like seeing that the squirrels are in a position where it's like they're not being shot and we're actually concerned about the squirrels killing us, yeah, we can ult. I'll say, imagine if the squirrels weren't here for a second, just walking up right here. We probably wouldn't want to ult yet because these guys we're all full HP and these guys aren't really in our team yet. They're walking up, so it might be, we're ready to ult, but yeah. Squirrels usually should be able to be dealt with without ulti, but there are times that I could see a squirrel girl ult definitely making you want to use a defensive ulti. So I think this is a relatively good defensive ulti. The only issue, I know it's moving the map. There's no way you'd be anticipating it moving the map. I know it's kind of weird that the map freaking moves the defensive ults. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me since, like, if this was like real life, the ult wouldn't just move through the thing. Like that, they placed it on the ground here, so it should move relative to the ground, which is, moving. Cloak shouldn't be ulting, by the way.
Their team's capture progress.
What happened here to make Cloak want to ult? Yeah, okay, I mean, I'm sure you can, maybe this was a mistake or maybe they didn't notice something, but you don't want to use both of your defensive ults at the same time, so being Invisible Woman ult and Cloak and Dagger ult. The reason being is that using them together doesn't really give you much of an advantage as opposed to just using one individual ult. Like most of the time, if you have Invisible Woman ult, your team isn't gonna die inside it, and all Cloak ult will do in addition to it is just the slight damage it does on the ground. It will stack on healing, so you'll get even more healing, but most things aren't going to kill you through 165 healing per second, which is what Invisible Woman does. And if you would just use Cloak ult and not Invisible Woman ulti, Cloak heals 250 per second, which is even more. So you don't need both of these. You only need one of these, and you want to use them not at the same time so that you get the most bang out of your buck for each individual ult, right? Because you see that we only used we used 2 ults and they only used 1. They use Cloak ult here, which is on their part unnecessary. But imagine if they had saved theirs until their Invisible Woman ult ran out. What they could do then is once this Invisible Woman ult runs out, then they pop Cloak ult. Your Cloak ult will be going away soon, and then they will have this this fight very easy. Because you no longer have a defensive, and they do.
Feeling tempted.
Let's say we should probably be inside our Cloak ult here. I know it's a little awkward because the map's moving, but you can see the your ones right here. For you in game, this would be reversed colors. This would be a red one, and this would be a blue one, and you'd want to be in. But you usually want to be inside it. You can be outside it, but only if you're in a very safe position. And there are situations where it's actually better for you to be outside the defensive ulti because you don't want to be like getting. You could be your team could be getting Emma ulted, and you don't want to be hypnotized and then get hit by a Magneto ulti that you can't avoid, something like that. But definitely in lower rank games, probably just stand inside your defensive ulti and don't risk getting caught outside it. Like that thing ult could have hit you when you're outside the Cloak ult, and then you would die. Whereas if it hit you when you're inside it, you might actually live. I would probably just be in general standing back further here as well. Like we're kind of up too much. We go back a little bit, you can see all that you're doing here. Like good jump for avoiding thing ulti, but now we can walk back here. I see strangers on us. Okay, hold on. Wait, let me look at strangers being on us. Yeah, it's a good dodge and thing ulti. Just push the strange away from you and walk around here. That is what I would do in this situation. Whatever you choose there, whether it be walk through here or push him away and walk around, we definitely don't continue walking forward after. What we do is we definitely come back here and we play this position right here. Anything that you are able to do on point from this position, you can see right here, this is an absolutely fine position to play. You have line of sight of all your teammates and all enemies as well. This is a great position, and you're not going to be focused down. You're also critically low, which is even more of a reason to not be standing this far up. Probably just need to play here and be very passive and try to play your life since you're 1 HP and you don't actually have any cooldowns that can help you for a little bit. Your jump is on cooldown and about to come off cooldown, and your shield is on cooldown, so you can't like shield Emma and walk up and hit yourself. So you need to play very safe back here temporarily. And anytime your shield is not doing anything, just pull it. That way it doesn't get damaged and go on a cooldown that you don't want it to be on, right? So like, let's say that I don't even need to do hypothetically. You can see it's at 195 now. It took damage from something when it wasn't doing anything helpful. I think I got hit by the cloak vulnerable wall thing. There's no reason that it needs to be up right now. You could probably move it to Emma. Emma's being focused. You could heal her up with a shield. Although I don't think she really needs. Yeah, that shielding Emma is good.
Keep fighting until you have a clear.
I don't like us being positioned ahead of our team. Behind them. The reason being, is, I mean, most of the reason being is quite intuitive. You don't want to be the one that the enemies are focusing on, right? Like, you don't want Squirrel Girl to be focusing you, or even Cloak and Dagger. You don't want to be focusing you, although it's not the scariest thing. You don't want to be the center of attention. And here's the other thing, is if you're up here and you're healing your team, you can't see what's behind you, right? So this is a scary position. We like being here because we're not going to be the focus of attention and we can see everything, right? Let me tell you as well, one of the reasons that I think playing support is so easy and compared to other roles, for at least me personally, is I can see everything when I play support. I play back here, I can see everything that's happening. I have a very easy time having good game sense because I get to watch the whole game, right? Fun story. I played a bit of Overwatch, and I was actually pretty good at support. I got to like diamond in Overwatch, so I didn't really try hard the game that much. But I got to diamond, and I tried tank, and I kid you not, it took me so long to get out of bronze because I couldn't figure out what I was doing. Because you realize as tank, you actually are supposed to play more in the front, and it's harder to tell what's going on because you only get to see some of the picture, right? So one fun thing about support, very easy. You can sit back here and watch what's happening, and you get to see the whole game. And that's what you should be doing. There are other reasons too why you need to be back here, but being back here lets you actually see what's happening. Also, not to mention, what if you're in the back, it means that you can see your enemies, which means that you can also, throw damage out when it is appropriate to. Whereas if you're healing them not in the right position, like sideways to them or ahead of them, it means you can't do damage at the same time as healing. And also, another thing to mention is as Invisible Woman, your character is literally rewarded for doing exactly that, sitting in the back and healing through your team because you can damage enemies and heal allies in the same shot, right? So it's very, very rewarding to play in the back as Invisible Woman.
By the eye of Agamotto!
Uh-oh. Where'd he come from? Do we see him?
Clearly you needed some help.
I wanna see. Did we get punished because we were playing in the front and didn't notice the Doctor Strange flying above us? Let's see.
Please.
Where did this guy come from?
Exposed.
Oh, it might have been because you were blinded, actually. That's where you're blinded and can't see anything. No, it's after blind. But you can see you're actually like inside your team right now, looking all crazy. I would strongly argue that if you played a position more back here, where you're healing through your whole team, you'd have a much higher chance of seeing this guy. Which, as Invisible Woman, you can be the hero and push this guy away in mid ulti, by the way. And you do have your push off cooldown. You hear by the eye of, or you're watching this guy, right? And you fucking push him over here in no man's land. And save your team. Because we were so far up, we didn't notice that guy. Also, I will say, as a team, it'd be good if any of your team noticed he was flying up here. But and communicate it. But you shouldn't rely on your team to make those callouts for you, because you want to be, independent. What is Emma doing, dude?
Feeling fantastic.
Okay. The cloak ult does make sense to me here because this is like a committed fight where I think these guys are gonna have a hard time just walking away. Um, and for ults, the times for defensive ultis you want to use them when there is kill pressure on your team and when your enemy team can't just walk away. Those are the two main things that I consider for defensive ultis. There's also like so yeah, right here I would say makes sense. Um, and because you did it in a way, or your cloak did defensive ulti in a way that is um the enemy team can't just walk away from it super easily. It forces an enemy cloak an enemy cloak ult out relatively quickly, which means they're not gonna have a big advantage. Seems like your team was kind of unaware of the fact that we cloak ulted. Out here. Yeah, this is a lack of awareness from your team. I mean, in higher lobbies, I think your team will probably notice the cloak ult and just be in it. But I do remember when I was playing back in like season 1 and season 0. Season 0 is the one. When everyone was learning the game, no one would walk into cloak ult, even in like higher ranked lobbies. Literally, I was in like Grandmaster, and people would just like not walk in the freaking cloak ult, and that was back when Grandmaster was the only one rank like in between, or that was the last tier before Eternity. It was before Celestial was in the game, so like it was a pretty decently high rank, and that's where people would just not notice the cloak ult. Um, so in lower rank, I think that same thing, that's you should kind of anticipate a similar thing where your teammates aren't gonna notice it. So for tip for your wife, if you can calm your cloak ulting, um, that is very good. You can just use it, and what I always did was I just said get in cloak ult. I used it and I said get in cloak ult, get in cloak ult, because I feel like that's a very quick and easy thing to understand. Oh, there's a cloak. It tells your team that there's a cloak ult that they need to stand inside, right? So, because by all means, your team should be in here. Like, there's no reason that we can't walk into the cloak. Absolutely fine. It's on point. We also want to be putting on pressure on the enemy teams. We've dedicated our defensive ulti here, so we need to be doing as much damage as possible, right? To force these guys to either die or use a defensive ulti in response. We don't want to let them have, you know, free time to wait and then use a defensive ult later, because that gives them an advantage. Yeah, I mean that's the. I would say it probably be better if we had cloak ulted here on this side, because this is where the enemies are standing, so it allows our team to walk into them very easily, and also there is the 30 damage per second that cloak does provide. So if you can put that on here, that is even better, because you know it's a little bit more damage. Not that that should be prioritized, but it's just something that's like, hey, why not? Um, so it'd probably be better to put the cloak ult here, and I think people probably use it better. It's just this is a little bit trickier to use. Now it's on them. Yeah, and then we're all running away chasing this thing. I mean, I get you're following your Emma, but this is really silly. trying to think like what to say specifically for you. This is your whole team is kind of making a big mistake here. I mean, I'd probably just stay in the cloak ult. Just stay in the cloak ult. And then realistically, if your team does do this silly thing of walking out of the cloak ult, because the thing is, I would say part of me wants to just say Invisult, but it's such a waste since we just used cloak ult. I mean, okay, you know what? I'm gonna be more cut and dry. Realistically, if your team all walks out of this defensive ulti and ends up dying because of it, or is going to end up dying because of it, unless you know for a fact that their team doesn't have their other defensive ulti, I'd probably just die unless it's last fight. Because you can see you've got 99% on point, and what we really don't want to do is screw ourselves by having to use our second defensive ult off point back here to save someone, have our enemies just walk out here and now have control of point with a defensive ult ready, because that's going to be really bad. It's going to waste a lot of our time. So probably just stay in cloak ult, and if your team walks out, just okay, cool, die on point. Like, that was just a blunder by your teammates.
You've captured more than half of the mission area. Keep going.
Okay, so yes, shield for sure. Shield because you never know what random thing might come and delete them, right? Full HP, take the shield away. The only reason that I'd really leave a shield up for a DPS is if it's like a long range character and they're dueling another long range character. Like a Hela fighting another Hela, or Black Widow fighting a Hela or someone, or it could be a flying character that is actively being pressured, that is also fighting a Hela or something that is fighting them from far away. That is a good use because it allows them to potentially win a duel. That is good. Scarlet Witch is not that kind of DPS. Scarlet Witch is a closer range, like it's kind of weird. She's not exactly brawly, but she's like kind of brawly because you kind of fight close range and have big bursty damage close. But I'll tell you what, she isn't. She is not a long range DPS. So there is no reason to keep the shield up because she should not be actively trying to fight this long angle and taking a bunch of pressure. That is not something that her character does. So what you do not want to do is waste your shield and have it take damage, so it's going to go on a cooldown for no reason. So this, yeah, they're perfect. I mean, did you pull that? Yes, you pulled. I can see because it has a 4-second cooldown, not a 6-second cooldown. That means you pulled it. Good. I agree. We should pull the shield there.
I unleash the Vishantis.
Oh, you're strange portaled. Okay. When did that happen? Okay, what the? Wait, you're Doctor Strange over here portaled?
I unleash the Vishantis' power.
Was cursed from the start. Force burst.
Doctor Strange. Okay, at this point, you just need to wait and regroup with your team. That is actually really bad because ideally you want the Strange Portal to be off cooldown because you want to fight here, and then if something goes wrong, you have Strange Portal available to, off cooldown for your team to utilize to get back to point on time for last fight. So that was really, really, really bad what your Strange just did. That's okay. We're not going to crash out on him. What we're going to do is we are going to tell our team to wait for Strange and just come back. We are going to be patient and wait. Like, literally don't go any further than this. Just literally wait here. Tell your team to wait for Strange. I'm seeing you consistently play a little too far up. Back here is where you should be. right here. You get to see everyone. You're lined up so you can heal multiple people if you need to. You can see what's going on. You're gonna be the least center of attention.
I was fine. Thanks.
I wouldn't just dump your shield there because it's gonna get broken very quickly and without getting any value. This is another reason. This is a perfect example of why you do not want to be playing too far up. Okay. I would say that behind Scarlet right here is where we should have been. Right about here. Alright. Watch where this thing all reaches. Right about there. Alright. If we were in correct position here, then you would not be getting stunned. Right? And as the support with the game-saving defensive ulti available, if you need to, you can ult your team so that they do not get team wipes by this thing ulti. And by the way, since you're strange, use the portal in probably the worst way possible. You no longer have a means of regrouping and touching the point again, so your team has to live here. So if you're here, you can make the game-saving play of ulting your team so they don't all die instantly. You see that really cost you. If you had been back here and ulted out of range of thing ulti, then your team would not have died here, and you would have a chance of fighting for this point. Alright, moving on to round 2.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Disappearing and
I thought I would have loved to see Wakanda reaching across the stars.
Not that it's something that will directly affect you, but just something I want to mention. In this matchup with Invisible Women's on both teams and a Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Witch and Invis, especially in lower ranked games, has one of the best combos you can do, which is where you ult, and if they match, it's so good to Witch ult inside it because if it's like if there's like a Venn diagram on the ground of like, I don't know, like say this is their ult and this is your ult, right? And there's like the area in the middle where it meets. If Scarlet's kind of near the edge of your ult when they start doing it, kind of pushing towards theirs, they can't see her, and they will be standing inside their Invisible Woman ulti thinking they're safe, and then all of a sudden she just absolutely one-shots everyone. Just something I thought to mention, like Scarlet ult can work really well with your ulti, so if you notice you have it available, you could come to Scarlet and be like, hey Scarlet, you can ult inside my ult and try to kill them when they are trying to match us with their Invisible Woman ulti.
anyone willing to help?
Okay, so this I'm gonna say is probably not a good ulti at all. Yeah. Alright, here's the issue with it, okay? Look at your team. First of all, we're already spread out. Our team is not really making any use of this ulti other than our Hulk. So like sure he gets like healed up from half, but not especially impactful. The main person that this ult is saving is you. And that is because I think your positioning is very poor here. You've used your jump out into the middle of point where you're going to be focused down. You're right next to their front line. Their front line sees you and says, tasty support, let me eat you. And you're having to ult now because you felt scared that he might destroy you. And you also look, you can see where their team is. If I'm on the opposition here, let's say I'm this cloak and dagger over here, I'm thinking, oh hell yeah, their invisible one just wasted ulti, and we can walk away from that, and I'm not even gonna have to use any. Our team isn't gonna have to use any defensive ult to match that. We just got a free ulti. Let's go, dude. Um, and so they're just gonna wait a second, and then they can use a defensive ulti once yours is like kind of mostly done. While you guys are all standing in a circle, they can be then, defensive ulti active and running through you guys and stampeding you. And then you die because you now have a defensive ult disadvantage where you either don't have one or you're going to have one more to match, but then they do the exact same thing with their last defensive ulti and stampede you with that. So this is an example of you ending up needing to use your defensive ulti to save yourself because you positioned poorly, and that is extremely bad. Um, I would not do that. Like, there are times where you would defensive ult to save yourself, but that should be very, very, very like forced. Like, that shouldn't be because you just jumped on the point and were focused down because you made a mistake. It should be like you are getting focused by Captain America and Black Panther, and you're going to die, and it's last fight, and you need to live. Then yeah, that makes sense. But this is not justified. This is not a justified um, reason that you would be forced to ult here. It was your fault. Lucky you, they end up matching it. Oh, Scarlet Witch is ulting. Is this? Well, it's kind of like early, but yeah. Oh, they got one. You can see what I mean though. This is exactly what I mean the Venn diagram as I was mentioning before. Like if they're sitting here in the ulti, um, especially against like lower ranked players, they're gonna be kind of confused what's happening. If they're inside their defensive ulti, they can't actually see if they're over here. And as a bonus, when you walk through an enemy invisible one's barrier, like the ult the perimeter of the circle, it slows you. So people will try to run away from Scarlet Witch ult, and they can't because they're slowed from walking in your ulti. Um, so just one combo to be aware of that is pretty fun. But probably not the most directly impactful thing to know.
By the eye of
Anyone willing to help?
Again, this is us positioning too close. Our defensive ult has ended. When it's going to end, I mean, I feel like we can probably jump backwards and avoid this. I think we might barely have had time to just jump back and avoid that. Oh, we got lucky. Oh my gosh, the squirrel girl nearly killed us.
Feeling stronger all the time. What am I? Invisible?
was just a scratch.
They really I feel like we're just throwing out the shift there. That could be placed better. You can't push Thing, by the way. Thing is not pushable. He has a passive that says, haha, I'm a rock. You're not allowed to push Swain Johnson. So, yeah, you can't. The only reason that you use your E on the Thing is for the actual damage. And in which case, in this scenario, I wouldn't because, like, it's not worth it. Better shift. I mean, I feel like you guys were winning this fight. Where we got a Hulk ult active. Yeah, I don't think this cloak ult was needed. I know this wasn't you. This is your wife. But I would just say this is not necessary. Because you guys aren't at risk of dying. You're already kind of winning the fight. So there's no kill pressure on you, right? Um, and sure, you could argue that without them defensive ulting, you would run them down here. But the thing is, I think that they will be forced to use their defensive ult soon, right? They're going to be the ones that need to ult first. And there's no reason to give them the advantage of having their ult come up uh, first. Because we're on even numbers. Like, it can be okay to ult first, like if it's like there's a lot of pressure on both sides, because we don't want to be the ones having a first pick on our side. So it's like, sure, like the enemy team can hold on to theirs, but it's like they're risking a lot by every second that they do it, so they have to match fast. But this is a situation where they could ult to save their team, and you guys probably wouldn't need to immediately, and then you can match it a bit later, because you guys didn't have a bunch of kill pressure on you. Or you might not even need to match it, because I don't think you guys were under that much pressure. Like, you've got Thing is stunned, right? You've got a Hulk, and you got 2 supports. Meanwhile, you have an ulting Hulk, is it Strange? Yeah, a Strange frontline, a DPS, and 2 supports. Right, so you've got numbers advantage and an ult up. So there's just, we don't really need this ult. Like, I think you can be healing Cloak and Cloak can be healing you. You can kind of patty cake with each other and be fine. Make sure you're making use of your team's defensive ults, by the way. This is I think the 3rd time I've seen you not standing inside, or at least walking away from the ult, because there was, I think that was the 3rd time. But I'm noticing you not always making use of defensive ults when you should be. It cost you. You should not die here ever. Never, ever, ever, because you have a defensive ult up on your team. This red one is yours. Your co-op time. That means you walk forward and stand into this. That's the one time that I would say that it's okay to be more confident with your team, because you're invincible in there. Like, there's only a select few abilities that can actually kill you through that, of which they do not have. They have like Thing ulti stun, but unless the ult's about to end, you're not gonna get stunned and die. Yeah, the only other thing that could kill you is Namor ulti, but he'd have to hit you with the center, and you can avoid the center and stand, on the. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about the Namor ulti, but there's a area in the very center that will one-shot you, and then the rest of it will just do most of your health bar. If you're just standing in the regular area where it's like it'll just do most of your health bar, just stand in defensive ulti, and you'll go down to like 70 health or something for a second, but you'll instantly be restored to full HP. So unless he like perfectly one-shot headshots you right as you get hit by the whale, you're fine. So you 100% can be stacked in with your team during a defensive ulti. And there are only going to be specific reasons why you wouldn't want to do that, and until you get to a much higher rank, it's not gonna. You just want to stand in a defensive ulti. And I say that with the until you get to a higher rank, because at higher ranks there will be more coordination with like ultimate abilities and whatnot of killing people inside defensive ultis, in which case it might make more sense for you to not be in the ulti and play somewhere safer.
Your team's capture progress has passed the half.
But that coordination will not exist until you get to like I would say probably at least like Grandmaster.
Ashanti's power.
See you next time. The only squid I want is an appetizer. Corn You owe me one.
Okay, I do like that we're looking to actually kill the thing. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, he's critically low, we can push to try and take him out. The second we see him getting healed, we're jumping off point though. Like, we went to see if this is like we're testing their team. We're walking forward and seeing, did their team know to heal their thing? Oh, they did? Okay, I'm jumping back. You're kind of just checking that there isn't a mistake that's available to punish. And they fixed their, they counter for this. They didn't make that mistake. Okay, you come back. Right? We do not want to stay here. No. Nah. So this is the exact same thing. We are being forced to ult because our positioning was poor. Walked up and we stayed here too long. Like, it made sense for that split second to go and see if the thing was killable. But the second he's not killable, you just leave, right? Because 99% of the time, you should not be walking up to try and kill a tank. That was only because you literally saw him at like 1 HP. But then he was no longer literally at 1 HP. He was at like, 200 HP. And it's like, okay, no, I'm leaving. I'm not messing with that. So yeah, this is the second time that you are being forced to ult because of your poor positioning. Yeah, we're consistently in the front here. Consistently. Alright, we won the point though.
We'll have to keep fighting until we have a win.
Okay, then and it won your round. Also, I would do want to say, the main use of your ult should be for keeping your team alive. Like, it is main use of your ult should be keeping your team alive when there is a lot of kill pressure. That could be when it's even numbers that ultis. It could just be a normal fight. But when it's like when people are matched together and you're seeing, okay, yeah, they're like, people on my team could be dying here, like 100%. Then it's worth it, the defensive ulti, right? Because at that point, because that's how you're gonna get a lot of value from the ulti. You are preventing your team from dying. Um, it's especially useful for preventing specific DPS ults like Starlord ult or Storm ult from killing your whole team. That is one very good use of them. But also just in big brawls where the teams are kind of mashed into each other. And that are very good use of the defensive ulti. You do not want to use it just to pocket yourself for being alone in point. Not a necessary shield. There's no one that you're helping fight a specific angle. It's not saving anyone. The main reason to use Invisible Woman ult shield, or the main reason to use Invisible Woman shield, is to save people that are low or are suddenly taking a large amount of damage. It should not just be thrown out whenever, because 6 seconds is a pretty hefty cooldown. Like, well, it's not that hefty, but it's a decent cooldown. It's not 6 seconds is definitely a window of opportunity for your enemies. You don't want to just throw it out, let it break, and then have no shield. If Hulk suddenly took a lot of damage and is at like 200 health left, yeah, drop the shield on him, heal him up. It's a good safety net. Um, the other reason to use it is to help, like I mentioned, with the long range duels. That makes sense. But you should not just be throwing it out whenever. We are also playing too far up again. I'll be back here. Also, another really good use of your shield is on Punisher Turret. Because this obviously a Punisher Turret has a specific amount of HP. And when he's in this thing, he gets a ton of value, right? And especially if he puts it in like open line of sight like this, like the enemies have to kill this turret. Like no questions asked. This has to go. Otherwise, he's gonna be doing too much damage. So if you put a shield on it, that's another 250 health that they have to get through. That's like an entire player of health that they have to get through, in order to stop this guy from wreaking havoc on their team. So this is a good way to use your shield. And so we could be chilling back here, healing our team right here from safety with our shield up. Sending, you can even be kind of behind Punisher to make it so that his turret and your shield block damage for you guys. And we're very safe keeping our team up, and this is where we should be. This is not where we should be.
Stupid fish man called in his stupid friends.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Castle went down.
Anyone willing to help?
I'm hulking out.
I like that we realized, hey, hold on a second, my team is not here.
I'm hulking.
You're gonna walk up and you're like, well, what do I do? My team's not here. You know what? You're actually just following. You're just chasing through. Yeah. Good. Good. You're aware that you need to go to your tank and heal him.
Our enemies are near.
This is the correct position right now. This is the position that we want to maintain. This is what we should be doing.
Anyone willing to help?
Strange. No, not the strange portal of doom again. What is this guy doing? What are we portaling, sir?
Battlefield
He doesn't even have his ult. What are you portaling?
ready again.
Also, you should use your shield on Strange so that you can stand next to it and heal yourself while you're healing your team. What am I doing? Wait. This Strange hurts my soul. Okay. Well, anyways, so we're coming back now in an absolute cluster of people, or a big fight. It's also really not ideal because we can't see what's happening because there's all these things in our way. Yeah, I would say that's a good old usage. I will say, when you saw that happen, it can be a little scary because now we can't see what's happening. I like that we walk into it because what we did see before it
The mission area.
was
Keep going.
like we saw 3 of our allies on an Emma. It's like, okay, we should be fine walking into this because there wasn't that many enemies right there, so we can walk into what's happening. If you chose not to walk in, you probably would need to ult this relatively quickly because there is the chance that your team is now dying and you're not aware. But because we walked in, we can see. I would drop my shield on Cloak because they are the most vulnerable character right now and they're at half HP. And then we also want to make sure that we are not getting hit by Emma's thing so that we can ult, because Nemen's ult makes it so you can't ult. So if we play this little pillar right here, man, what happened to Cloak? Okay, see, this is us not being aware of when our support is being pressured. So the most important people for your team to keep alive are your supports, 100%. If a support dies, it is extremely bad, not only because it is now a deficit in raw healing output, but it is also going to mean a lack of defensive ultis, because either Cloak had ult if she dies, and now doesn't have it available, or if Cloak dies, it means that they are not farming ult charge, right? So there is going to be more time without a Cloak ult on your team. So it is very, and defensive ults in Marvel Rivals are just insanely overpowered. They're extremely important for winning fights. So they are, your team cannot operate without them. Um, so it is extremely important to keep Cloak alive. So when you see this, we see two tanks that are, relatively full in health, and a support, a squishy character that is about to die, or well, not about to die, but they're missing half right here. They're missing half their health bar, right? That is danger. That is red flag. Throw shield, get Cloak healed, then look back at tanks. Not to mention as well, you have your ulti, so if you are pocketing Cloak and you look back and your tanks are suddenly like about to die, you can ult. That's entirely doable. But you can't look at your tanks heal and then look back at Cloak, because Cloak might be dead then. And we're just actually completely unaware that Cloak's being chased by this Hulk, or by the thing up there. Okay, nice.
Vortex field.
More time strengthened for battle.
Bionic surge.
And we don't need that shield. That shield is not doing anything for our team. Our tanks are not the one. We do not want to be putting our shields on full HP tanks, because full HP tanks are tanks. They can take a hit, and you only need to use a shield to save your team, or to aid your DPS, who have a smaller health bar, and winning duels in which a small amount of damage can be critical to winning that duel. Like you have 250 health shield, right? If your tank takes 250 damage, they're not instantly gonna die, right? Therefore, you don't need to be dedicating that utility to your tank when they're full HP. However, if you have a Hela or on your team, or a character that has a small health bar, that wants to fight another character that can do large amounts of damage per second, a 250 health shield can make a very big difference in winning that duel, right? I mean, think of it on the extreme end. Two Hawkeyes fighting each other, right? If one of them hits a headshot, the other one dies, right? So having a shield on your Hawkeye while they're fighting their Hawkeye would make a really big difference. But tanks are not Hawkeyes. Tanks are tanks. So don't use it in situations where that shield isn't going to mean the difference between life and death. Either use it in those critical low HP character duels, or use it to save people. You can also use it situationally to heal, as well. It's a very good healing tool. You can use it like if you're getting dove, you can stick the shield on you, or I mean on your other support, and like hide in the shield and get passive healing. That's not a really good use of it. You're using it like, it's not really saving yourself, but it's like alleviating pressure from your team, kind of like a dagger dome. You can use it in that way. we're playing too far forward. We keep using our jump and going forward, right? Which is kind of like bad for two reasons. One, we're playing too far forward, and two, we're dedicating our one ability that can get us out of a bad situation to put ourselves in a bad situation, right? So it's like you're you're jumping on the middle and saying, "Hey guys, I don't have my one ability I can use to get away from you. Please don't hurt me." Right? So it's this is very scary. Like honestly right now, like that's you're not really under that much pressure of dying, but it's like why do you even need to go out here in the first place? Like why can't you just stand right here, right? It's a much better position. Because who knows, there could be a Spider-Man right here ready to kill you or something. Like I don't know, like being the center of attention is bad. Avoid being a center of attention, which means standing behind your team. Good sidestep.
Clearly you needed some help. Vortex field. Psionic burst. Vortex field. Disappear.
Okay, this ult's not good. This ult is very, very not good. Reason being is your team is not really under pressure of dying. You're chilling back here. Um, we're good. Their team can easily walk away from this. There's no reason that they can't just walk back and wait a second for this ult to go away. You've also put it where your backline is not going to be able to walk to it. So I know Thing doesn't have ult right now, but let's say Thing did have ulti. A good Fling player sees this and he ults you right here. Because he knows that if he ults you right now, your team can't get to their defensive ulti and he can wipe you guys. But for right now, he could probably just run out and try to fight you guys when you're not inside the defensive. Um, Although their best option really probably would just be like walk back and wait for this ult to go away. But make sure you put the ult where your whole team can make. Ideally, there will be some situations where like you need to save someone and you're doing it to save that one person, like over there or something. Sure, okay, but that's not the situation. This is a normal situation where we could be using it more ourselves. So if we were gonna ult here, it should be more around our whole team. And we don't need to ult here in the first place because it doesn't save anyone, and their team can just very easily walk away from this.
Pride of the neighborhood.
This will make sense to me. This one does make sense to me. Because what's happened is your backline's getting dove and being pressured, and it's clear that they're not going to be able to live without healing, so they ult in response. And then they take the ult up towards their team. You see how they're, I mean, this is more along the lines of our teams are jumbled together because you can see there's two enemies in the backline. And we've got, you're kind of like mashed together. Um, this is more of a situation where we'd be using a defensive ulti when there is actual pressure on our team and we need to alleviate that pressure. This is also closer to what I mean by they can't just walk away, although I mean Thing and Hulk both have means of getting out of those kind of situations quite quickly. But the reason we are reusing it here is to save our team from pressure. That makes sense. So the cloak ult makes sense here. And I know that wasn't you, but just trying to give an example of good defensive ultis. I will say it's not ideal for having our defensive ult be forced out. And I think there, as a team, there is possibilities of you guys preventing that. Your cloak needs ult there. I think there, you could be pocking each other. You know, doing the support patty caking of keeping each other alive, and then communicating with your front line. You're being dove. Nice try on the push. I see the vision there. One thing I want to mention is we are using our double jump ability a lot when we don't need to. That is your main way of alleviating pressure from yourself. So be very careful about using, like, be a bit more stingy of that ability. Only use it when you like are actually like kind of need it for something. Um, it's not. It's only like a 6-second cooldown, so it's not the most important thing to always, you know, to like avoid using at all. But you do want to make sure that you don't use it and then in those 6 seconds really need it and end up dying because you didn't have it. It's kind of like if you ever played Overwatch. No, actually, I think you mentioned this is your first game, so you wouldn't have played it. But there's a character from Overwatch called Moira who has an ability that she could literally use every 6 seconds that makes her go like invulnerable and invisible for a second. So it's very similar to um, Invisible Woman's jump. And it's, as playing as Moira, it's very crucial to only use the shift, or in this case, the double jump, when you really need it, because you can get caught out and die very quickly if you use it at the wrong time. Well, I need to watch this back. Okay, again, we're jumping into the action. We don't want to be doing that because it's very important in this position. You need to have your jump active whenever you can, because you can quickly be pressured here. That's tough. Okay, we're now at 90% ulti. That cloak on your right, that is the most important person to heal. If you walk in here, the second you see this, you are turning and putting shield on them immediately. Turn and shield this immediately. Probably push as well, get them away from your cloak. And be healing your cloak up, because it is critical to keep your other support up. You look as well, cloak's at 79% to ulti, right? Which means if you heal them, you're 92%, you keep them alive, you pocket each other, you manage to get your ult off, cloak's gonna have theirs by the time your ends probably. So keeping them up is extremely important, because this is the difference between having one defensive ulti or two in this last fight. And that can make the difference. Them dying there is extremely bad. We also would need to be jumping. So we'd be healing cloak, instantly getting her up as much as we can, pushing those enemies away. I know you can't push thing, but you can push strange to alleviate pressure. And once you've done that, you can jump. You probably don't want to jump out of the Invisible Woman ulti, but you can jump over here towards where Cloak is going. I do think yeah, I guess that's probably the best direction for you guys to go in is towards your Hulk. Um, yeah, this Strange is kind of. You see your front line's kind of split up here, and they're on you in the back. It's just not the ideal situation. So what you probably need to do is have you and Cloak pocket each other as much as you can to allow your front line a chance to turn and deal with people diving you. And then to get Invisible Woman ult off as fast as you can. And Cloak ult after your Invisible Woman ult ends. You know, this is last fight, so defensive ult just kind of come out. This is the definition of the right time to use a defensive ult, right? When the teams are mashed together like this. Because you can see there's people that are at risk of dying. Died of 99%. And right here you can see where you jump, which is not good. I mean, let's say that the Cloak dying there was justified. Okay, jump away. Jump away. We jumped kind of in place here. We want to jump, give ourselves some space. Probably jump backwards at this point. Use the push because the push does a bit of damage and that can give you a little bit of ult charge that you might need for the invisible ulti. And the second you get it, you ult. And you put it as far forward as you can to where it hits you and your team. That way you are, keeping as many people as you can. Also, since people have died, never mind. Like, look at this situation right here. Imagine if we had an invisible woman ulti right here. That would be so helpful here. Not to mention we kept Cloak alive, right? If you guys were both alive, there's a very high chance you win this fight. See, their invisible woman died. Cloak's the only support alive. Meaning, we invisible woman ulti here. They match a Cloak ulti. Invisible woman ult ends. We Cloak ult. We win that fight because their Cloak ult does not come to an end. We win the game. Easy peasy. Alright, well, thank you so much for being patient. I know it took me a while to get to this one. I'd say definitely big things to focus on are overall positioning, making sure that we're kind of more in the back behind our team. And definitely taking a look at shield usage. Shield usage better. The usage of our double jump ability as Invisible Woman is also has room to be improved. And also ultimate ability usage. Those are the primary things that I would focus on improving. Also being aware of when more squishy vulnerable characters in your team, especially your other support, are at risk of dying. Because you are the one that needs to quickly turn and save them by healing them. Especially as Invisible Woman, because Invisible Woman has one of the best kits for saving her other supports, because you drop the shield on them, you quickly burst them up. She has like the best burst healing in the game. So she is it is very much your job to burst heal, save your other ally supports. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask, and any feedback is greatly appreciated. Well, thank you very much, and I hope this helps.